I'm Sharon Payne. I've taught here. I've taught here for 20 some years. And one of the things I love about teaching is working so closely with students. And Rylee and I have been together for, well, ever since she's been here at Front Range, and it's been a joy. With spring and the sun shining and all the beautiful flowers coming, they need sun and they need rain in order for the flowers to bloom and be beautiful. And we as humans need things too. We need sun and we need water, but we also need what Rylee is going to share with us today: the love of friends, the love of family, and the love of God. And our prayer is that we will all be different because of hearing her capstone speech. We're excited to hear her speak. Welcome, Rylee.
People have always said I'm too dramatic, like sensitivity is something to be ashamed of. But what if feeling deeply is actually a strength? What if the very thing that makes us too much is what teaches us to love like Jesus did, with a heart open even to those who might break it? Sensitivity has taught me how to be empathetic, whether it's for the kid that feels out of place at school, or if it's for someone who walks into a room making a smile. Being sensitive has helped me notice the little things, the tone in someone's voice when they say they're fine, the way someone avoids eye contact, or how they hesitate before speaking up. It's taught me how to treat people with kindness, because you never really know what's going on at home or in their heart. It's also taught me how to love my neighbor, not just in the convenient or easy ways, but in the real, sometimes uncomfortable ways. Like Mark 12:31 says, the second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Loving your neighbor means offering grace, patience, and compassion when it's hard, and possibly even when it's not returned. I think I've learned all of this because I know what it's like to not feel understood by others, or even by myself. I've been in the place where silence feels more comfortable than speaking, where your emotions feel too much for others to handle. We all know that feeling when someone says something unkind, something that will linger in your hearts and weigh us down. It's a universal feeling, yet not everyone pauses to reflect on how they could avoid inflicting the same hurt on others. This is what I've pondered over for the last year. How can we turn that hurt and confusion into love? How did Jesus love and forgive so easily to the people who sent him to die? Jesus didn't single Judas out, shame him, or even treat him differently. In fact, Jesus washed the feet of all of his disciples, including Judas. Knowing Judas was about to betray him, Jesus still humbly served him, kneeling before him and performing one of the most selfless acts of love and humility. For I have given you an example that you should do just as I have done to you. John 13:15. How in the world is Jesus able to treat Judas with such compassion, to serve and love someone who would betray him to his death? Is it possible to have the same love for the people who hurt us, like the love Jesus has for everyone? It's a kind of love that feels impossible to comprehend, let alone to even practice. Yet, Jesus calls us this very kind of love, a love that extends even to those who hurt us. It seems so far beyond what we as imperfect people are capable of. But maybe the key isn't trying to summon that love on our own. Maybe it's about leaning into Jesus' example and asking for his strength to reflect even a small part of his love. What would it look like if we chose to respond to hurt with grace rather than bitterness? If we broke the cycle of hurt by offering forgiveness instead of revenge? It's not easy, and it might even feel unfair. But Jesus shows us that love has the power to transform, not just others, but ourselves as well. But it shouldn't just stop there. Everyone deserves love and grace, no matter the circumstances, sexuality, gender, race, culture, background, anything. At the end of the day, we're human and we all bleed red. Agape love is the highest form, completely selfless, unconditional, and sacrificial. It is a love that gives without expecting anything in return, rooted in compassion, grace, and deep commitment. It seeks the well-being of others, even at a personal cost, and reflects the kind of love that goes beyond feeling or circumstances. To understand this better, I read the book The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis, which explores, of course, the four loves. Storge, the love of affection, mostly the love that parents have for their children, or the love that animals feel for us. The second is Felix, This love is type of friendship love. Next is eros, which is what we consider being in love. And finally, of course, agape. As C.S. Lewis describes, it's a selfless, divine love that transcends natural human feelings and is rooted in the will, not just the affections. This love is unconditional, defying all laws of worthiness. It is not earned, or is it based on feelings or attraction. It is given freely, even when it seems impossible. Agape love is described as the highest form of love, the kind that seeks the good above all else. It is the love that Christ demonstrated in his life and death, and the kind of love that we are called to reflect in our relationships with others. Understanding this concept laid the foundation for how I approached the rest of my project. I interviewed Julie Melton, an aid in a women's ministry called Global. The ministry's goal is to help impoverished women find work and get them back on their feet. The idea of helping poor communities in itself is unconditional. Something that Julie said that really stuck out to me was, they're not different, just poor. This is a very simple concept, but also a really important reminder. Helping someone that you don't align with can create a ripple effect. It not only makes that person feel seen, but also inspires to show love and grace to someone else. One act of love can influence many. The idea of unconditional love is important to me because of the judgmental culture we live in. A culture where people are often criticized or excluded based on their identity. In the midst of that, I've recognized to appreciate the beauty in our differences. Instead of the difference of identity divide us, I've come to see it as an example of God's creativity. These differences are something that can bring us together and celebrate the way that God created us individually. A quote that captures this idea is by Stephen Schwartz. You think the only people who are the people who look and think like you. This line reminds me how vital it is to love beyond the surface and challenge the narrow perspectives we're often taught. That's where agape love comes in. The kind of love that sees past appearance, culture, or belief systems. It chooses to love simply because every person is worthy of love. Agape is what transforms judgment into compassion, division into connections. It's not easy, but it's the love we're called to strive for. Agape love is not an easy task. It requires patience, compassion, and willingness. You have to put others before yourself even when it's uncomfortable. It challenges you to love without expecting anything in return, to forgive when it's hard, and to extend grace when it feels undeserved, or even sometimes weird. But in the struggle, there's beauty. You begin to notice love in the smallest gestures: a smile, a helping hand, a moment of quiet understanding. You grow in your care for others, and soon enough, the love starts to reflect inwards as you practice love, this agape love. You not only build connections with people, but you also begin to see your own worth through the same unconditional love shown to strangers. For one of my experiences, I practiced agape love for 10 days through the Beatitudes Project. Each day, I journaled my efforts and experiences from the project, holding myself accountable and reflecting on how I was actively living out the traits that I chose. I focused specifically on compassion, peace, forgiveness, and not judgment. These traits are the one I chose because they encompass the heart of agape love, and the ones that I personally have struggled with the most. Even outside of Capstone, I've been wanting to work on these areas to grow into a better, more loving person, and this finally gave me the motivation and structure to really commit. But what I didn't expect was just how difficult it would be to practice this. It wasn't just about being nice and moving on. It required constant self-awareness and the ability to pause in the moment, even when my instincts told me to snap, judge, argue, or shut down. Non-judgment was probably the hardest for me. I'm not proud of it, but I realized I've often judged people more without even realizing it. I'd label something someone said as stupid or wrong and just move on with that without giving them the benefit of the doubt. Through journaling, I started coaching myself in these moments. It took real effort to stop and say, hold on, that's not fair, and shift my mindset. Peace, the second one I practiced, was just as challenging. I'm naturally argumentative. It's kind of in my personality. To prove people or start debates are fun, especially with those I'm close to, so practicing peace felt like going against my nature. It required me to pause, breathe, and think before reflecting. At first, I felt like I was constantly holding myself back, and it was exhausting. But over time, an intentionality started to pay off. Those pauses became easier, more natural. I started choosing my words more thoughtfully, and found that my interactions were calmer and more meaningful. And over the 10 days, it got into the habit of not resulting quickly in anger, but in a more peaceful way of life. There were definitely days where I didn't feel like trying, when I told myself, I'll be nice today, and maybe I'll be mean again tomorrow. Or if I mess up today, I'll reset tomorrow. But that's not how real growth happens. I realized showing agape love has to be a daily conscious choice. It's hard to keep giving praise when you don't receive it back, or to be patient when someone is pushing your buttons. But choosing love in those moments when it's the hardest is what makes it powerful. Over the 10 days, what once felt like a frustrating task became something I did without even thinking. And the reward was more than I expected. I felt less angry, less reactive, and more grounded. I started seeing people differently, with more understanding and less frustration. Practicing agape love was a hard thing to do, but the change it created in me was worth every uncomfortable moment. It reminded me that love isn't just a feeling, it's a discipline, and one that can truly transform, not just the way we hear others, but the way we see the world. Outside of my experiences, finding research on this topic was challenging. In turn, I decided to ask my peers for their perspective, so I created a poster, In What Ways Do You See Agape in Your Life? With this, I hope to discover ways students my age have experienced with visual love. It's important to be able to see where students feel comfortable and loved, even if they don't always feel that way. Reflecting on moments when you felt loved can be eye-opening. No matter where you are, the feeling of being loved can stay with you. A lot of the sticky notes responded with my brother, my mom, my best friends. The majority of the notes listed mentioned people, not places or things. It shows that how deeply human connection matters. We all have the ability to show someone unconditional love that will leave a lasting impact. We each carry the opportunity to make someone's day better. Creating a space for reflection helped me see how powerful love can be in shaping our senses of belonging and worth. It reminds me that one small action can change someone's perspective. Maybe the next time you show someone unconditional love, whether it's a kind word, a shoulder to cry on, or a patient ear, that person might look back on you and recognize you as an example of agape love. What might feel like small or insignificant moment to you could be life-changing for someone else. Love doesn't always come in big gestures. Sometimes it's the constant presence of someone who cares. But something that moved me the most, though, was one answer that kept popping up consistently: God. Students are able to recognize the love of God, and specifically the mercy He continues to show us, even in a world that can be harsh and confusing. God's love remains a constant. It reminded me that agape love isn't just something we receive from people. It starts with the love that God offers us, and we're invited to reflect that onto others. God is the very source of agape love. It's through His example that we even begin to understand what true love looks like. God doesn't just tell us to love, He shows us how, through the life and death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It's because of His love that we have the ability to love. When we love others with agape love, we're reflecting a small piece of His heart. It's a daily choice and a reminder that we're never loving on our own strength. As 1 John 4:19 says, we love because He loved us first. His love is what fills us, sustains us, and overflows through us into the lives of those around us. I interviewed Nathan Baker, a pastor at the Sect. As a part of my research and through our conversation, it became clear that without God, none of this would be possible. The Bible is filled with verses and examples of unconditional love, more than I realized before beginning this journey. Scriptures such as Romans 5:8, God demonstrated His love through us. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. This highlights the depth of God's love. Pastor Nathan emphasized that you can't truly embody or demonstrate this kind of love without a relationship to Christ. To understand agape love, you need to know God, because He is the very source of it. The selfless, sacrificial nature of agape is something we can't fully grasp or live out on our own. The Bible tells us in 1 John 4:8 that God is love. Without God, agape is just a concept, but with Him, it becomes something we can experience, receive, and begin to share with others. The more time we spend with God, through prayer, reading Scripture, and walking closely with Him, the more our hearts are shaped to love like His. Agape love is not something we can fake or force. It's something that becomes real when we allow God to work in us and through us. When we understand how deeply we are loved, despite our flaws and failures, it changes the way we love others. Feeling the unconditional love that God gives us as we're still sinners creates a chain reaction to love others while they're also still sinners. This truth became even clearer to me as I began my second semester research project. I compiled many Bible verses that spoke volumes about unconditional love. The word agape is seen 320 times throughout the New Testament. This highlights how crucial this type of love to this highlights how crucial this type of love is to the message of the gospel. It's not merely a side note or a recommendation. It lies at the very heart of who God is and how He calls us to live. Each verse I studied revealed a deeper understanding of what it means to love unconditionally. Agape love isn't just something we are to receive from God, but also something we are called to embody as believers. It represents a way of life that reflects the very character of Christ and becomes a testimony to the world of His love living through us. Through my journey of exploring and practicing unconditional love, I've come to understand that love is not just an emotion, but a powerful choice and action exemplified by Jesus. His love demonstrated even towards those who betrayed Him and hurt Him. This offers us the ultimate model of selflessness, forgiveness, and grace. As I reflected on my experiences and worked to embody agape love, I realized that it's far easier said than done, especially when faced with challenges and hurt. The struggle to practice my chosen faith through the Beatitude Project revealed the complexity of unconditional love, showing me that it requires constant humility and effort. However, the journey has taught me that it is worth the effort, for love and giving unconditionally has the power to heal not only others, but ourselves as well. This project has deepened my understanding that we must choose to break cycles of hurt with grace and extend love no matter the circumstances. It may be difficult, but in the end, we are all deserving of love. And as we learn to give it out selflessly, we begin to reflect the boundless love that Jesus offers to everyone, unconditionally. This mirrors the biblical truth found in 1 Corinthians 13:7, which reminds us that love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. True Christ-like love is independent of how we feel or how others treat us. It's a conscious choice to reflect God's heart, even when it costs something. Jesus Himself commands us to love one another like He has loved us. It's not a suggestion, but a calling. A calling to love with the same radical grace and mercy He extends to us daily. When Jesus forgave those who crucified Him, saying, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing," in 23:34, He didn't just show us what love looks like. He challenged us to live it out. Capstone has deepened my understanding that we must choose to break cycles of hurt with grace and extend love, no matter the circumstances, or how difficult it may be. Agape love, the kind of love that Jesus embodied, transcends human logic. It is patient, sacrificial, and unwavering. And as we allow ourselves to become vessels of this divine love, we begin to reflect the boundless love that Jesus offers to everyone, freely, fully, and unconditionally. In the end, we are all recipients of God's grace, and through Him, we are empowered to love others in the same way.
Well, we do have just a couple minutes left. I would say my takeaway is know God better, and allow Him to live through me. That's my takeaway, Rylee, from what you said. Anyone else have a question or something to add, an experience you've had?
Well, I didn't know this is what your capstone was, but the last year I've noticed a big difference in your personality, attitude, and actually that has to do with getting closer to God and asking to learn how to show agape love. So I was really cool. Didn't even let it go see that. What inspired you to explore this?
Well, during the solo, I think the main question we got asked was, what do we love? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, I love love. And there's so many different types of love. And even talking to Mr. Schultz about it, he told me that he noticed me being able to understand people and like seeing them unconditionally. And he told me that he thinks that I should explore agape love, since that is type of love.
Very powerful. Yes, very powerful. Good. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rylee.